In this video, I'm going to begin to explain a little bit about the qualitative risk assessment case study that we'll be using off and on throughout our program. This qualitative risk assessment is of aquatic nuisance species. An aquatic nuisance species is a non-indigenous aquatic species that has been introduced to a waterway where it is causing some sort of harm, either economic, environmental, or other. We're going to be looking at the GLMRIS study. GLMRIS stands for the Great Lakes, and you see the Great Lakes in blue here at the top. Mississippi River Interbasin Study. The Mississippi River begins down here in Louisiana at the Gulf of Mexico, and you will see the Mississippi River moves north, draining all of the area that you see in either gray or green. So all of the rainfall in the United States that falls in these gray or green areas ends up moving through Louisiana into the Gulf of Mexico. So this is the Mississippi River Basin. The Great Lakes River Basin, or the Great Lakes watershed, is shown as the blue Great Lakes and the brown Great Lakes Basin. Now, to the north, and not shown here, would be Canada. So the Great Lakes represent international waters. Over the years, aquatic nuisance species have been introduced to the Mississippi River. And you see here the dotted line, white and red dashes that separate the brown from the green. This is about a 1,500-mile long boundary between the two watersheds. And so the United States is concerned about non-indigenous species in the Mississippi rivers that might get into one or more of the Great Lakes, and they are equally concerned about non-indigenous species in the Great Lakes that might get into the Mississippi River Basin. You see a little red rectangle here. This is the area of greatest concern, and we're going to give that a little bit of special attention in just a moment. But first, let's get the idea of what's going on here, and I'm going to begin with an example of Asian carp. Asian carp were introduced in Louisiana, LA, the state marked LA, and also down here in Arkansas, when people imported carp from Asia and used them in catfish ponds to clean their ponds. These catfish ponds were found on farms much removed from the Mississippi River, but over the years, floods on the Mississippi River and its tributaries caused those ponds to become united with the rivers. The carp escaped into the rivers and have been, over the last couple of decades, making their way up the Mississippi River toward this boundary that we were looking at. But what is of particular interest is those that have made it into the Illinois River and now are headed toward the city of Chicago. So as we go through our case study, you will hear us talk about two focus areas. Focus area 1 is what is shown in this rectangle, and that's where we're going to concentrate our interest. Focus area 2 is all of the boundary outside of that rectangle. Let's take a look at focus area 1. Here's a close-up detail. You can see down in the lower left the Illinois River, which connects the Lake Michigan in the upper right with the Mississippi River. Notice on the shores of Lake Michigan, you see circles 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. These indicate 5 separate pathways that aquatic nuisance species moving up the Illinois River into the Des Plaines River, excuse me for that. Once they get moving up through here, there are 5 different routes by which they can enter Lake Michigan. So when we deal with this risk assessment a little bit later on, you will find an almost bewildering array of information because we are looking at 5 different pathways We are looking at dozens of different species, and we are looking over several different time frames. So for now, all I would like you to do is get the geography. So as these species come moving up from the Illinois River, they pass through different barriers. You can see number 11 is the Dresden Island Lock and Dam. And as they move up the Des Plaines River, we move up to the Brandon Roads Lock and Dam, Lockport Lock and Dam, Lockport Controlling Works, and here at number 7, this is the electric dispersal barrier, which you'll learn about in some of the video background for this particular study. If a species gets beyond that, then they have access to these 5 different entry points. So with that bit of introduction, let's close now, and you'll be learning more about this as we go through the course.